Hello and welcome to the Experiment Lab, the daily show with JK. I'm JK, your host. I'm joined by Walter. Again, Walter, welcome back. We started a little bit early and hopefully you are getting excited. So that's the reason. And probably we are having a lot of questions to answer. And also, as we explained in the show before, that we are going to walk through the process, how this works. Before we jump into that, I believe like our teammates as well joined on the back, Shiva and Amar. Amar, welcome back.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
So before we jump into it, right, do you guys have any questions?
Direct questions right now.
Well, that is a tricky one. So I'm trying to be very cautious on what to share, what not to. Let me pull up from my profile itself, right? So as I have not been active, I have not been looking for any job, but still, right, just from today morning and the last 3 hours, like we get almost more than 20 emails and phone calls and all those things. So this always is going to happen. So let's skip that part. And the other profile, Shiva, right? You got another interview with Cognizant. So the fun part why I bring this up is like how he is being treated. So let's talk about that, right? So he worked for Cognizant for a couple of years as a contractor. Every time they do the same thing, they just don't give any reason for him and they fire him. And again, they try to reach out to him through the recruiters or through other vendors and hire him back for a different client projects. So this has been ongoing. So either he works for 3 months or 1 month or 6 months. The last stint was like handled by Ram completely for our experiment. And in that, like we even established that none of this was paid to him. So Cognizant doesn't care. All they care is like how we can make money from our client by exploiting these human resources, these contract jobs. And they don't know like whether he got paid or not. He even escalated that issue with Cognizant. And as we discussed, Walter, like hope you will remember, like just to give a brief to the audience as well, like those who watch this episode alone. The surprise part is like they do the same thing, just they did for Nate. It's not a story. Like we validated that, we tested it out. The reason why Shiva brought that up, this when he makes complaint, he gets threatening call from the managers and he gets fired for asking payment. And they say that like it's $1 billion company. You think like we won't pay you all. We will pay you, but it will take time. But if you need any issue with the payment, you should come through proper channel through your employer or to us and get it resolved before escalating to the client and all those things, right? They do just threaten him, like saying that like we are investigating this issue, and they fire him back and again they hire him back. So this is some kind of a joke for them, right? So that's why like I'm bringing this up, right? So the last project we worked for Cognizant was for Intuit client. So we have the entire episode recorded in our YouTube channel. We will be publishing it like exclusively for our members alone. So the members can watch that out. And right now, again, even in the Intuit client, we were given a very good feedback by the managers, but without stating any reason, they just fired him. Like they just let go, right? The project got ended, like budget, whatever reason they give, right? They just don't give because it's a contract. So your contract ended, hand over the laptop, move on. So this time what we did, okay, let's not create problem by not returning the laptops and other things, because this is the way to make money. So you cannot fight with criminals in a legal way. You have to attack them in their own way, in their own game. So that's why like we decided, okay, let's go with the flow. And this is what happened. They are coming back again. And the one that I just showed, the recruiter reached out for a client, and this time they said like it's a full-time position with Cognizant and they want to interview. How many times they will interview their own employee, we don't know. So that's the fun story here. And let's move on to the next one. As we said, right, we promised we will cover the step-by-step process. So this is one of the profile. One of our teammate was handling this. Right now they are busy in the project, so it is not being handled by anyone. So Walter, help me out. Like either we can take it up, Amar, you and me, we all can do this and test it out, right? The differentiation between a visa holder. Let's put him as a H-1B visa holder. This is a completely a fake profile. The fun part will be like how a complete fake profile means, like a complete fake person. The person itself doesn't exist. We made it up, right? So that's what like I'm trying to prove here. Even for that candidate, if we say H-1B candidate, let's see what happens, right? So that's the deal over here. And we have already one more, that is Nate, right? So Nate's act is active and Amar is handling that. And you can see like the same conversation keep happening over and over in that profile as well. But before that, right, I just want to show, right, within 5 minutes, we can create a profile for anyone, even for Walter. And then we'll demonstrate like how in a few days, right, it won't happen in 1 or 2 days, in few days, how you can get a number of calls and emails for job offers. So that is also up for it. And what Walter has to say for that.
Well, I mean, there are legal ways to fight that. I mean, there's companies that end up paying billions and hundreds of millions of dollars in fines and penalties because they do certain things. It just takes a lot to get to that point. So, I mean, I think that can happen, and it is weird that a company would. I mean, honestly, it feels more like freelance stuff because there's really no protection for freelancers in the United States, which I've had to deal with for quite a bit of time. And so it kind of feels like that just stop something and breaking what you said you were going, what a client said they were going to do just because they can. But it's in this part, it's kind of weird that they come back immediately. It's like, hey, we want to hire them back for this. It's like, then why would you fire them in the first place? It sounds like a lot of paperwork. And also something that stood out was like, if it is $1 billion company, then you shouldn't have an issue paying people on time. And that's kind of where I stand with that. I mean, if it's a biweekly payment structure, you pay biweekly. It's not that hard. Don't see companies with a lot less money than that having an issue sticking to a biweekly payment structure. And so I don't quite understand why they would even say that and stuff like that. So that's a bit off. And I guess the question would be, was that profile for like a U.S. citizen, a green card holder, H-1B visa holder, or what was the background on that profile?
So the good question, right? So from our experiment, right, we are not excluding anything else. Even if it happened for Nate, right? Even if is the US citizen, they do the same thing. But in terms of the profile that we handled was like, we mentioned that as a green card, right? So if we say like an H-1B candidate, what will happen? So can you anticipate anything?
Well, the H-1B visa holder wouldn't really have much leeway to say anything because if they get fired, they would have to go find another job really quick. So, yeah, I'm guessing they would. I'm guessing most of the time they wouldn't complain as long as they got paid at some point. But that still is like bills don't come at some point; they come at a set time every month. So, I mean, that would be a lot of stress on them, but they wouldn't want to get fired. Because good luck as H-1B visa holder going through the process of getting that taken care of?
Yeah, so it's not just getting fired, right? So the complexity is like H-1B candidates cannot have the issue, right? So the issue of, oh, I got fired from the job. No, you are not, because your employer is your responsibility. They have sponsored you. Even if you lose the project, as long as you stay in this country, you have to be paid. So basically they are covered, they are protected. So that is the reason, like, employers will give a justification saying that, like, how we are not going to pay them like as we are going to pay US citizens or green card holder, because they can claim unemployment benefits and they can survive without getting paid for a couple of months as well. But that's not the case with the H-1B candidate, because they have the employer. The employer is not terminating it, like only the project is getting terminated. So that's the problem here. So when you don't have the project, all these even billion-dollar companies do the same thing. They call it as benching the candidates. So you can be on the bench for a couple of weeks, a maximum of 1 month. And within that time, if you don't get another project, then either you will be terminated from the employment and your H-1B will be revoked, or you will be asked to go back to your country. So that's how like it works. So that's the reason, like, it adds additional layer of stress for the H-1B candidates if they lose their project. So it's not in any way you can compare them with US citizens, and there is no even playing field here for them. And for them to seek projects or a job on their own, definitely there is going to be a big challenge, right? So that is one thing, like I just wanted like to upfront share this, right? So we will say this, right? So I'm just showing this, like, this is what we have responded to.
Yeah, because they would have 60 days to figure something out on their own for a new sponsor, which just doesn't sound easy. I mean, I've never gone through that process, so, but yeah, it doesn't sound exactly like an easy thing to do. Yeah, I mean, the stress would be quite heavy, because you would expect to be here for a certain amount of time, not expecting to have to do this part again that you already did, but now you're stuck having to do it. So yeah, that doesn't sound like a very fun situation to be in.
Yes, so that is one thing, like, we just need to establish, right? So what I am trying to share here is, like, I'm responding to these profiles, right? And even you can see like how LinkedIn and others professional networking platform enables people to do these kinds, right? So all these recruiters, they depend on these platforms, professional networks, and you can see like even if it is a fake profile, they will try to reach out. For Nate, they are trying to reach out and have a call with him. And they also mentioned that, like, they are some of them saying that, like, they are in US. You can literally say that, like, they are in US. The fun part here is, like, he's a technical recruitment specialist, he calls, and he is in US, but he's open to work. I just don't want to comment on those things. So he's working in this company. Let's find it out, right? So he himself is looking for a job, but he is reaching out, like, to Nate, saying that, like, he has a job. That's a fun thing. What do you have to say, like, Walter?
Well,
So
I mean,
how
I've seen that. I forgot what they called the display frame, I guess is what it's called. I mean, I've seen it before. I think it. I'm not sure I'm not sure exactly what the open work thing means, but I think it just means. I don't know. I think it has a specific meaning, but it is. I mean, if he's not even in the United States, that would be a little bit misleading of a LinkedIn profile with all of that. But But it seems weird that if you get taught that everyone should be leery if you get contacted by a recruitment specialist at this point.
So the issue here, right, multifold. That is where like the problem I see it, right? So LinkedIn and other things, right? These billion-dollar companies like Microsoft, Google, Apple, everybody, like they can do something to stop these kind of things happening in their platform, because it is their platform, right? They can control, they can monitor, we all know that story, right? Even if it is like you claim that like you have a free speech, right? You can be banned from Twitter, and for violating the policies, the YouTube channels can be taken down. They have the control. Even if you are a president, right? We all know this story. So you can, again, that's the problem here, right? If they have the money, they can somehow get back at it and they can come back and do all the nonsense. The same thing happens with LinkedIn Professional Network. Here we go. Before we discuss that, like let's talk about that call. Hello.
Hello, yeah, hi, Manikandan. This is Japan Kumari Challenge for you.
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Actually, I have a job requirement for business strategy project manager. So right now, you have the job market.
Who's the client?
The client here is General Motors.
GM. Okay. So is it on-site or remote?
Yeah, it's a hybrid role in Warren, Michigan.
Okay. And what will be the contract term? What is the pay rate?
Yeah. The contract duration is 6 months, and the pay rate is $55 per hour in 1099.
Okay. Can you send me those things?
I already sent the job description. And one more thing I wanted to ask you, because whenever we got a position from General Motors, they always ask for a full SSN number of the candidate. So you're comfortable and sharing a full SSN number?
Can you repeat that? Like, what is that? What do I need to share?
Your full SSN number. General Motors always ask for the candidate full SSN number.
General Motors, they ask the candidates to provide full social security number before offering the job.
SSN number.
SSN number.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you get me an email saying that like they are asking this? I haven't heard anybody like do
Yes,
that.
I can.
Okay, you can get me an email saying that like from General Motors is asking for the full social. Then I can respond.
Sure. Okay, sure. I'll do that.
Okay, send me the email. We'll talk later.
Okay. I'll already send the job description. The job description is already sent for another bit. Okay.
Okay, we'll talk again. Bye.
Okay. Thanks. Okay.
Walter, we got a jackpot for discuss.
I could hear very little of what that person was saying. The only thing I really could hear clearly was that it was a job for 6 months for $55 an hour. And that was about all I could really hear. And then evidently that individual asked for full social security number before even you're hired, which again, that's not a thing that happens, because they're going to run a background check. There's multiple background check companies that they'll send you to, and the company doesn't even get that information. They run the background check, and then they go through that process. And then if you clear a background check, you go through, onboarding, and that's when you give them all your information for all that stuff, which makes logical sense. Like getting it right now before you even speak to the company, and you're asking for my full social security number is like, no, like, why? No, like before, I know Elias said that it's normal. Like, I've talked to, I've been freelancing as a journalist and a writer and consultant and seminar host for quite some time, and that's never happened. If anyone ever asked me for that, or right at the beginning, I was like, absolutely not, because that's how identity theft happens, and that's not how this process works at all. So, I mean, yeah, that is a little bit weird. I mean, they did say, I did get pickup. They said that they will send you an email with that, but it's still like, why? Like that doesn't make any sense. Like I know for a fact if I was going through the regular process without a third party and was talking to General Motors, they wouldn't ask me that right off the bat before I was hired. So I don't know why a third party would need that.
That's exactly it, right? So my point is how they are blatantly violating not just their client, right? It's kind of, I don't know how to say this, right? We all know that, right? Why do they even need it? They just don't need it, right?
I don't know if it's, I will say that I don't know if that's breaking law, but it's very weird.
Yeah, it's nobody's business to have somebody's social security number, right? So just a simple example, right? I'll tell you, right? If you are going to share your social security to me, what I can do, right? I just told you, right? With your consent or not, I can create an email, right? Let's say like Walter and Eats. Even if you say like, no, let's not do this. And if I give the information, right? Your date of birth and social security, I can do anything, right? So I can I can apply for a credit card. I can do so many fake things can be done. And with the full social security, definitely they can run a pre-background check, right? With I'm sure this guy will come back to us like with saying that like I need your ID as well. When they're asking like social security, they are definitely going to get your ID. Like the same thing happens with the H-1B candidates, right? So even with the H-1B candidates, those who come as a new person like into this country, they will not be able to get even the social security immediately. It will take some time, right?
Do they explain why? Because I mean, that's the part that like, if they're not doing identity theft, which I think you guys would have caught on by now that they are, then why are they doing? Why do they need that information at all? Like, what are they doing with that? Giving it to the client? I mean, like, but that's not how any company I've ever worked with does that. They don't get that information before they've hired you. Like, there was no reason that they would need that before hiring you. And if they're going to do a background check, it would be through a third party company, and you would go to that website, fill all that information in, and the company won't even have that until you're hired. So like, do they ever explain why? Because from what it sounded like, he didn't really give a reason, was just saying, I can give you an email from the company saying that they need that. And I'm like, I would like to talk to someone from the company as to why you need that before I'm hired, because that is not a normal process. Like that is not a normal process at all. And I can't say that enough. That's just not how it works at all. I've never been through that situation talking to a lot of clients, and if I did, someone asked me, there was like, absolutely not. Like, why would you? No, like, I'm not doing that. I'm just not doing that. You're not offering me $1 million. Maybe I'll take the chance for $1 million a year contract, but you're not. So absolutely not. So
yes, let's wait for him, right? So the fun ride has begun, right? So we will share that who the company is, and we'll talk to him again. He's going to keep calling us again till we respond to him. That's how, like, let's move on to the next story, right? So as I was mentioning, even with the existing client, right, the projects. So this is exactly what happened with the another story, right? So the candidate, he worked for them, and they terminated the contract after 3 months. And after 6 months, they have the audacity to call back and send an email saying that Infosys is requesting your e-verify copy for compliance purpose.
verify copy of what?
that you are eligible to work.
Oh, that's a bit late to ask for that.
So I just have to laugh out.
Hmm.
These are billion-dollar companies, right? So they just completely ignore the regulations and compliance, and they violate blatantly. And they hired person and got the work done, fired him, and didn't pay. So we had to struggle and fight it out to get the payment. And then after 6 months, they come back and ask, like, we need your work authorization copy.
Yeah, no one's going to answer that after going through that. Like, it's just like, yeah, go away. Like, no one's going to answer that. Like, I wouldn't answer that. It's like, you need something from me after you put me through some garbage to even get paid on time. Like, I'm good. Goodbye. Like, I'm not responding to you. Like, honestly, that's just, I don't like that's just someone just didn't do their job the right way, and they're trying to cover for it, I guess.
Yeah. So let's see like what happens, right? We don't want like to take the risk again. We want like to escalate this, right? So we said the same thing. So as I mentioned, like they kept saying the same thing. We are working on your payment. We'll update you.
How hard is
Almost
it? I don't understand.
1 month,
I don't understand.
right? So 1 month before they sent it. And again, we reached out saying that like update the status on September month invoice. Now it's December. Till they are replying the same thing. We are working on the payment. We'll update you. Thank you for your patience. We don't know like when they are going to pay. And it's not a joke, right? So I'm just not making up any of these stories, right? That is why like we are recording it and providing the evidence and showing that the person is still working on the project in the bank, right? I'm just pulling up, right? Still it is there, right? The conversation is being happening with the managers, and he is working in the bank, in Bank of America, for more than 90 days without getting paid.
That's ridiculous. Like, that's ridiculous. I don't. This is just that's there's no. I mean, Bank of America has or any bank, most of these places that are going to have like a brick and mortar location where there are employees inside that are getting paid weekly or biweekly. A lot of companies are moving to weekly now because labor wants weekly payments because it's easier and less stressful. So it's either going to be a weekly or biweekly payment. They're paying them on time. They have people working in remote areas. They're paying them on time. Like why? I mean, I don't understand why a company like this would think they have a net 90 to pay someone. That's not how that works at all. Like, I don't, that's just, that to me is like, is that directly done towards green card holders and H-1B visa holders, or US citizens doing, or profiles getting that too? Because that's ridiculous. Like, I would have a fit if you didn't, if a payment was late and I was working for a company that's worth billions of dollars. I'd be like, what do you can afford it. Like, why is your payroll department lacking? Like, I mean, I have bills and stuff. We had an agreement, pay me. Like, it's not, I know you have the money. Like, it's not that difficult. Like, pay me through PayPal. Like, I don't care. Like, figure it out. So I mean, is it different between US citizens, green card holders, H-1B visa holders, or are they targeting one of those groups? Because that just seems outlandish to me that that a company would even try that and leave a paper trail of that.
But that's the beauty, right? The reason why I bring this up, like why we are trying to break this and expose these things, is they dare to challenge anyone who makes complaint, right? This is what will happen. So we are trying to test it out. We waited for so long. We wanted to escalate this, send an email to the manager and ask for them, like, what's going on? Am I going to get paid or not? Why am I supposed to do the work? And this is our experiment. So we just don't care. Like, even if they fire us, that's a different story. But it's a lot of money, right? And it's not worth for risk taking, even for any individual, right?
Well, I mean, yeah, it could be like $100,000 a year contract, or you're getting paid $60 an hour or something like that, and you're working like 40 hours a week. I mean, yeah, you don't want to. I mean, yeah, was it cool making something like $18,000 a month? Yeah, but they got to pay eventually. So I'd be like, yeah, I kind of would like that money that I'm supposed to be making, like not that $9,000 every 2 weeks. Can you hand that over? Because it would be nice to have. But after 90 days of working all that stuff, and you still haven't paid me, he's like, are you going to pay me everything you owe me at once? So I'm going to get a big check of like $40,000, or what's happening? Like, what are you doing? Like, why are you waiting this long to pay me? Like, I don't. That's the thing. I don't know how if someone was doing that to me and I was owed that much money, it's like, and I'm working all that much time, it's like I don't really have time to do much other client work. Like, it would be difficult. So I would need that money to pay bills. I mean, would easy be able to pay them from getting paid that kind of money on a $100,000 a year contract? But you gotta pay me. Like, I mean, that's the thing. It's like that's the part that shocks me, because that is so easy to be like, they're not paying me. I can sue you for, like, I could go straight to a lawyer and be like, I'm gonna need to sue them, and I want the money that's owed to me. I want the full contract. I want pain and suffering. I want all this stuff that's gonna add up to. It's gonna be an outlandish like $10 million you owe me now. I mean, like that can literally happen. I mean, this is a different topic, but in Uvalde, Texas, those families of those students that were killed, they're suing for $27 billion. So these things add up to a lot of money, and I just don't know why these companies would take that risk, because it's going to cost you more in the end than just paying someone on time. Like, that to me blows my mind. And then they're just saying, we're working on it, we'll get back to you. It's like, my bills are still happening, hurry the F up. I mean, like, it's like, what do you do? Like to me, it's like, I don't know what they expect someone that's working to say to that, or to like tell whoever they're paying rent, who's like, yeah, the company said they're going to pay me my $40,000. They just won't tell me when. Sorry. I'm like, I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm ranting, but that to me is just so obnoxious.
So we just lose control, right? So when we experience these things, and we really don't know that, right? Because that is the part of this experiment. We have been told again and again by all the companies. So no matter what, you are talking in general terms of going after them, like and suing them and getting. That's not happening here. So they challenge you, right? If you do that, you are in trouble. You are fired immediately. So that is the question, $1 billion question. Are you ready to take that risk, right? Rather than getting paid like $10,000, $20,000 a month, and till you get paid, like you just wait for that to happen, or blow it up like by saying that, oh, I'm making a complaint, or just forcing them like to respond immediately, or pay me. It's been 90 days. Even
when you're going to pay me, I guess would be real response. Like, just tell me a date you're going to pay me. Like, I mean, I'm assuming at the beginning of these negotiations contract, they tell you we're going to pay you weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, or something like that.
Walter, right? Let's stop there, right? So this is a contract. So we clearly established a contract. Contract terms are there. We have to go by that only, right? So we can pull that up and we can show that to attorneys and talk about it. What will happen in these scenarios? What are the best options, right? So they say like net 35, net 30 days, or net 45 days, whatever that is. Within that period, they have to pay. They will take their own precious time, and it's not a big deal for them, right? So they will say like, oh, I'm dealing with hundreds of vendors, and I'm dealing with billions, and it is the responsibility of individual workers who might be on leave, or they might not have cleared the check. So many things can happen in these companies, so nobody will be held accountable. So that is what the problem will be. The individual candidate who will make the complaint will suffer. That's the logic, right? So with that point, we will wrap up today's session, because this is an ongoing fight. We will talk through more and more. Just the final concluding, within this half an hour, we just created a profile for Walter as well. Just creating a fake email and a profile as no relevance. Anyone can do that, but unless someone gives a consent to proceed in this direction, right? Get me a job. somehow, right? If Walter is agreeing to it, we will get him a job. We will walk through the process live on the show, and we will get him a $100,000 job. It's a challenge for everyone. Within the next 4 weeks or in a 2 months period, I can guarantee we can get a job for him. Amar, are you ready for the challenge?
Yeah, sure, we can do it. From my experience, I can say it's possible.
All right. So Walter is taken back now. He's in shock. Let's continue our conversation tomorrow. Bye for now.
Bye.